fourth Thursday of each month, I make my pilgrimage into the community, preaching at 3 different places. The first place is Parkview Terrace. Hyacinth Kronbeck, some of you know her. She lives at Parkview Terrace. And by the way, if you want to keep her daughter in your prayers, her daughter has some health issues, but some new things have come up, and she's having several tests. So please keep Hyacinth and her daughter in your prayers. But anyway, they are like a little congregation there, a tiny congregation, but they take care of each other, they watch out for one another, they have their fellowship time after worship, and they pretty much set all that up themselves. One week I was down there, and that particular week, there was a Muslim woman who came to worship. It was her first time ever in a Christian worship service. Since then, I understand, I met her again this week, I understand she's become Christian. But that first time she was there, she had never been to a Christian worship service before. And the people there said, well, you know, we all worship the same God. Come on down. I think the music's good. There's cookies afterward. Just come join us. Just a nice way of inviting someone to worship. Cookies always help. Pies help. Those sorts of things. This past week, there was another guest. Actually, she wasn't a guest. She's been part of that family for a while now, for at least 1.5 years or so. My wife hasn't had a chance to meet her, though one day when we were driving down the road, I did point out through the windshield, I saw this resident there, limping across the road. I said, there she is. She's kind of ugly, to tell you the truth. Gray old coot. But see, I don't like the looks of turkeys. And she is a turkey with a limp. But I get to hear about this turkey every time I go there, and the exploits of this turkey, and how she's raising her little chicks into full-grown turkeys, and how the other turkey moms were leading their chicks along, and she was just trying to keep up with her chicks because she had this limp. I get to hear about her every time. Well, this particular time, and you have to know, they're concerned about her limp. They've called the zoo. They've called veterinarians to have this limp investigated, see if there's anything that could be done, or to make sure at least she's not in pain, and the zoo and veterinarians reassured them it's just fine. Yes, it's tough for her, but as long as she can keep going, let her go. Well, this particular week, we were finishing up the prayer and started into the Lord's Prayer. My eyes are shut, and somewhere around trespasses, I hear a happy sigh. You can tell if a sigh is a happy sigh. And then there was another. The prayer finished, I opened my eyes, and there were 3 people looking over at the glass door, and I looked, and pretty soon we were all looking at the glass door. And there was this turkey standing on one leg, head cocked to the side, still as stone, looking at us. We started the last hymn. We sang all the way through. The last note was played, and the turkey put down her short leg, and she hobbled away. I have never seen a turkey look reverent. But it seemed that turkey was worshiping with us. Of course, I've never seen a church adopt a turkey. Well, the feathered kind of turkey. I guess churches are adopting turkeys all the time if we're doing what we're supposed to. Today we hear Jesus reading from Isaiah. More likely, he opened up the scroll and he just spoke from memory. But anyway, the words are these, and they're meant for all kinds of turkeys, especially those without feathers, especially those who are, when all is said and done, a lot like us. Because faith doesn't protect us from hardships, and faith doesn't stop us from doing foolish things, and faith doesn't stop us from getting our leg up into our, well, our foot into our mouth at times. But what faith does do is help us pick up the pieces and start all over again. And faith does change every little death into a grand opportunity for a new life, a new beginning. And so Jesus unrolls the scroll, and he reads from the book of Isaiah. These words are from the Message translation. God's Spirit is on me, He's chosen me to preach the message of good news to the poor, sent me to announce pardon to prisoners, recovery of sight to the blind, to set the burdened and battered free, to announce this is God's year to act. This is God's year, 2013, to act. It's as good as any year to act because Jesus is still in this life with us, still looking to act through us, still the same man with the same message, and still dependent upon faithful followers to get the message out. I think I know what those residents of Parkview Terrace see in that hobbling turkey. I hunch what they see isn't that much different than what Pastor Ann Mowry and her congregation in Missouri saw when they began to see the world through new eyes. Their average attendance in that congregation was right around 100. Ours last year was 104, if you're curious. Theirs was a congregation that was rapidly graying. I'm beginning to resemble that remark. Some are calling this time in the life of the churches nationwide the death tsunami, as they run the numbers based on the average age of churchgoers and average life expectancies. Others are more optimistic. They are at least offering churches a choice. They're writing books with titles like Renovate or Die. At least there's a choice there. But the most faithful followers of Jesus are taking a different approach. They aren't looking for a clever strategy to regrow their church. They aren't really worrying about the death tsunami. They aren't thinking about themselves, and that's where it begins. They're thinking about Jesus' mission and what others need. And so in the last 7 years, Pastor Ann's Missouri congregation has started to rock, literally. And it, in the last 7 years, has grown from about 100 in worship to 150 in worship. But it hasn't done that by trying to grow worship numbers, nor by trying to reclaim a past that was once theirs and strong. They've grown by asking themselves the question, who are poor? And what is good news we could offer? Or who are the prisoners, and how might we set them free? Or to put it differently, how are people burdened or battered today? And what can we do to help lift those burdens or soothe those wounds? The transformation for that congregation began when a single mom arrived with a fussy baby. They could have frowned. They could have pointed out, there's the cry room. They could have ignored it and waited for the baby to grow. They could have tried parenting tips and all the secrets of shushing a little one. They could have lamented the changes in life. Used to be people had control over their kids. They could have lamented single motherhood and resigned themselves to the fact this mom was probably embarrassed and may not be coming back. Instead, they followed the Jesus who said, let the little children come unto me, even letting them come and sit on his lap and sit around him, even if they were fussing a bit. Truth was, the adults around were fussing a lot more than the kids were probably. But after worship, they had a little meeting. And one said, well, we want young people in worship. And another said, oh, I remember when my children were little and fussing. Another said, my children still are fussy, and they're not little. Another said, you know, the only thing that seemed to calm my child I can remember is we'd sit in the rocking chair, and I'd hold him or her, and it just calmed down. And another said, why don't we just get a rocking chair? And so it was. Now, I'm going to say this quietly. There are church growth experts out there, and I don't want them out of jobs, and they have long lists of things to do. This doesn't fit into that. They went out and they bought a rocking chair with a pad, and they sat it in the back of the church, right by the pew. And the woman came, and she rocked her child, and it was